Yeah. Yeah, so typically after the side kick, when you're doing the side kick, this hand is here in form, and then when you turn, this comes to here. And then on the forward movement, because you're moving forward, there's the downward press. So it's kind of, it's phased in, but like, so if Stephen, if I'm here and I lean away, I'm here. And then when I press, as the hand develops that structural integrity, it's in the down press. See, when you first do this, this is like doing this. It just attaches, and then I put more of the focus into the motion. So it's just here and then here. So you don't need to like put a lot of strength here until you start to come forward and you thrust to the eye. But when you thrust to the eyeball, you have to, just, even though it looks just like in Fu Hak, when you go into the double tiger, looks like it's over to the corner, but that's because of your knee position, because you still have to, no matter what, once you thrust, you have the nose, when he thrusts, you need to thrust into the mirror. You see the nose, this, and the knee is still looking for that single line. Because that's the alignment of your body. You always align the body for structure, not align the body for direction. So if you want to be in that direction, you have to set up your legs to be in the proper direction. So, I mean, these are just, so Sonny, you actually have to, so the two reasons or two things that would help you find that center is here, like this. So, because the shoulder, turn the waist more, and then it takes it there. It's the waist that usually is not allowing you to turn enough, because when you turn the waist over here, turn here. If you want it, you're straight, yeah. But okay, so leave your leg there, right? And you turn and thrust, right? You're still looking for here. Because here, it's not supported. It's not to your here. You see, the alignment is consistent. Whether you're throwing a punch, you're throwing like, whether you're poking to the eyes, you're punching, fingertip thrust, it's all the same direction of motion. Once the true alignment is the thing that your body has to memorize. It's called 3 alignments. Sam is 3, Lam Ui. Ui is the 3 alignments. Right? Okay. And then this hand is seating the wrists and crunching the fingers. That gives you a complete, stay there, right? So actually, this turn a little bit more, relax the shoulder a little, like that. Yeah, and then like here, and you're actually going in that corner, and just move like this. It's like this, and we sink to here. So that it sink, because a leaning stance is typically pretty weak, right? So when you thrust up there, see, when thrust to that corner. So typically, if you were blocking something here and just lifting, you would probably be off balance. So to compensate for that, you duck. And because you're ducking and you're sinking here, it allows you to have this rotation, a little bit of a rotation there. So that's the tailbone and the heel again. Yeah, but not too much. Just from the shoulders. Don't turn the stance. Just from the shoulders. And leave the stance. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Just so that it's along here. See. It's just one of those unique situations where when you sink, yeah. So you thrust, you sink over the knee, and then turn like this. open your torso. See, because if I'm, yeah, huh? Yeah. So it's here. If I just try to lift and he's pushing, it's really not very stable. So you have to kind of do this. See, when he pushes, you're allowed to go with the rotation to dissipate the force. Yeah. So when we think about our postures, when what's the difference between, say, novice, intermediate, and advanced, or masterous? It's really integration of body, coordination, and then the ability to merge different planes of motions and know which side is the lead and the follower in the intent of motion. So a lot of times I see a single plane is going to be the most basic, right? Because the body's not, understanding the direction move. So if you go to a high block and you just do that, that's a single plane movement. It's just going from here to here, and it's very flat. A two-dimension or two-plane motion would be coming in this space and then turning into this space. Requires turning of the torso, requires integration of this with this, or from a stance to tying the legs together and then turning. That's more complicated, more complex in motion, because it's a kinetic chain of movements that are much more complex, or muscular sequencing. That's what coordination is. So we're trying to build integration of body. The power has to come from the leg through the torso to your fingertips, right? And Tai Chi is the same way. The power is in the root of the leg, which is your feet. So when you come into a stance, if you're going up, you would lift the body. So each component is actually going into a force field. You're driving the force to here and you're here. If you're doing the double block like in Zhenjiang, we step out and we go like this and then we do that. That's a more basic than if you stepped out from here, step out to here, adjust, and then wind up and then turn. That's a little bit more complicated. But at the same time, if you integrate like that, then this hand is doing this, this hand is doing this. One hand will follow the other, because you have a horse and a leaning as two separate phrases or phases of movement. So the phase of movement is that you're transitioning from one space to the other. So then the phrasing of the movement with the sequence of events of what happens to the body as a kinetic chain of motion, right? So these are the word phrasing. They use it in dance. They use it in sentence structures where you combine. So the structure of that becomes the phrase of motion. So, we're doing a silk reeling. The phrasing of the movement is between all the legs. From here, it's like this. We're here like this. So because that ties in lots of little components, there's a certain phrase of motion. And, I think in music they use the same thing as phrasing. They use it as a term where you're linking I think it's the notes, whatever. But here we're linking our components together. And so terms like that can be used to explain how we kind of kinetically tie things together. And the phase of the movement really is when we're turning into the different angles of position. When we're like this, we're winding and we're unwinding. Not just the hand, it's the body. So when we're here, this is the movement. It's tied together like this, and it's finished like this to complete the structure. If we're like this in Gung Ji Kun, and we go to here, it's not pulling back. That's one direction. That's backwards. We sink and turn. That's more complicated. It's a different phrase of motion. Because when we're here, that's coming from here to here. If we came back, it would be here. So that action is what we're trying to develop. Upper-lower coordination is the hands moving with the legs. upper lower coordination is, right? You go in your position, the hands, the feet, the elbows, the knees, the hips, and the shoulders. That's standard upper lower coordination. The 6 harmonies, different styles are called that. You know, they have a style called Lok Hap, 6 harmonies, 8 methods. That's Lok Hap Bat Fat. Bat Fat is 8 methods. Lok Hap is the 6 coordinations. So, you know, in any style, you have this idea. You know, when it comes to Chinese systems, they always talk about coordination. Now, if the concept and the theory is not understood, then it's just a physical movement and it's just a form. You have to learn these principles in order to reach a higher level of understanding, because without that coordination, it's sequential. So most martial arts systems just measure sequential learning. The more forms you know, the more you must be skilled, right? But that's not the skill that we layer it in, because the skill we're talking about is peeling those layers of onion away to develop the understanding of these concepts. The 6 harmonies, upper lower coordination, spatial awareness, timing, and integration, right? Not to mention that you have balance and motion that ties together the yin and yang. You know, you think yin and yang is in Tai Chi, but Hunga yin and yang is the same. Tiger and crane is yin and yang. There's the tiger is the strong, and the crane is the soft, or the. So there's what our yin and yang is. But if you integrate your body, you still have these ideas. Now, this movement is just a circle. This movement is part of that circle. They're 2 different planes of motion. That's why the coordination is hard to develop. You're here. This is coming like this and then turning into a new direction. This one just comes across like a middle block and just meets it. So between this and this is how you create that circle. So when you do, if you see this in front of you, flipping the hands over is reversing the ball, right? Like making a snowball, right? Kids do this all the time. But if I take this movement and turn it to this, I added a right to left and a forward to back. Now you have multi-dimensional motion. The fact that my hand turns like this, that changing of direction means you have to be changing consciously the intent of movement. So when the hand first meets like this and then turns and then presses and then changes, it's constantly changing in what it's doing. So your feeling in that motion starts to become how you use your strength. And when the hand comes from here and then follows up here, this has to come in and then ties in with this, and that's what a butterfly movement is. So that's why we have to understand how the circle is, whether it's right or left, in and out, and the surfaces of your limb, your forearm, is how it's used. So, you know, in every action there's a different intent, different application. So that sensitivity that you develop only can be developed when you're learning it soft. Because if it's stiff and hard, your sensitivity is kind of muted. It's not as agile, because you can't change. You can only change when you're in the soft mode. But how soft? Not excessively soft, soft enough to be able to be detecting the force, and then still rigid enough to know that the difference, because you can't overly release, you can't excessively give, so you have to find that balance. And then the body will adjust based on your ability to manipulate your skeletal structure, because the skeletal structure is still another level of skill that has to be, consciously developed, because everything that we're doing is a motor skill, and motor skills are learned here, but it only learns the information that's given. If you're not given the correct information, then you're going to learn it wrong. right? But when we first learn, we don't really know how to do it. We don't understand what we're trying, what the end goal is, other than, well, this is a block, so we just block like this. But that's not efficient. The most efficient way is go vertical to horizontal. Now we went up and down, and then out. Up and down, and then out. That's the total transition in the arm. We don't really lift like this. Your efficiency of movement is not as good like that because it's a single plane. And your arm doesn't really create enough strength like this because the further out you go, the less leverage it has. So if you're using body mechanics, you have to use the vertical line because this is the way it goes up. And then when you get to a certain point, you pass through 45 and then you expand it to your upper hoop position and then you're rounded, right? So if he's lifting, there's strength here. That's an uppercut lift, right? And then he starts to change, and then he changes, and he brings that shoulder toward me. Then that's what a high block is. That's a song. It goes up like this. The turning, that pattern, is a piece of many things that we do. Chun kill, right, is this. Dragon claw is this. You come to the dragon claw, you lift up to the eye level, and then you turn. That's your spiraling into the position. But we don't pay attention to the total transition. We just look, right? If he grabs my wrist, I go like this. If I turn like this and I turn like this, he feels change in strength and structure. If I just go like this and he resists, I can't. I have to go like this. Then I have to do this. Then I have to do this. In order to create my maximum potential as the geometry of position, and because I'm using my natural strength. When you use natural strength, that's how the joint was designed to move. Now you could use muscular strength. That's not always the way you're supposed to move. It's just muscular strength. We call that brute force. That's not the kind of strength we want to learn. When you're here, that's how we go to the lifting movement in IOI, right? Don't we go like this? Then we come through center. Then we open. So when we go up to here, that's really, so you see, 1, 2. That's how we, right? That's like a little adjustment there, but that's how we can get from here to here, because the change of direction creates the energy for the motion, but then it disrupts the person holding. But the thing is, your high block is the same. That's all it is, right? She wants you to grab her wrist. Yeah. Do it again slowly. Do it. Yeah. That's good. Well, see, you put too much intent here. When you, you change your direction first. Go like this. Yeah, no, leave it out. Use your hoop. Drop your elbow, pull in, turn, and then turn. See, when he holds it here, I create here.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Here. So when I here, then I'm here. Now that's against his here. But if I go up more, what ends up happening is no longer this. It's just creating from here. So that's your legs. You have to tie. That's what upper lower coordination is. Yeah. But don't rush this, because this is going to turn. Yeah. And then as you start to expand, you start to bring that in. You see? But you want to go too high. Yeah. And then just open your hand. Now you have structure. Yeah. I mean, that's a simple high block. But it's not so simple when you have resistance. So you have to find your strength in the transition. So that's feeling your movements, because your movement, your body is full of senses, and the sensory system has to give you the feedback to the brain, because the messaging is what's going on in here, and it goes to here, and it tells you that's happening, and then it feeds back, and your strength changes as it adapts. It's pretty complex stuff, but the thing is, that's what's happening, and it only happens through understanding. Your body has to understand what strength is, or where the strength comes from. That's called dong in Tai Chi, ong, right? Understanding strength. That's all we're learning when we do this. We're learning about our strength, what it feels, well, how does it feel? What's the difference between this? What's the difference between this? All of these are different. The expression of motion. When your fingertip is like this, when the hand is like this, well, it's like this. Those are all different, positions, but they're all different in how you apply it. When the hand goes like this, and the thumb is here, when the hand is here, it's all, when you thrust out, and you go out, in, turn, curl, it's all driving the movement. Then when you do this, the strength has to come through your body into your feet. Otherwise, you don't have that relationship. So this is the ideas that we're trying to build. And that, because all our forms has the dynamic tension type movement in the opening, so we learn to use our skeleton much more efficiently and much more control. We move each quadrant of our body and each section of our body down to every joint in our body. Every bone is connected somewhere. There's a joint in every end of a bone, and every end of bone is manipulated by our skeleton, by our muscular strength. But we don't know how much and we don't know how little until we experience it. After we go through decades of this practice, then your body becomes actually much clearer as to what the end goal is. So what are the end goals is really integration of body and not using excessive strength. So that's how. No wonder no one practices stuff. It takes so long. Oh, yeah. What's that? Say again?
I was saying maybe it would help her to, after this, instead of just doing this kind of tighten this and then kind of walk the body.
But she's going up. She's going up in that instance. So locking the body is okay when you're doing this, but she's got to go up because we're doing Song Gong Siu. So now you have to rise. So if you rise to go, so this is what you can't do. When you go like this, you can't just do this. You have to turn and then come up. So you have to come around like this. Yeah, but what we were talking about really was the vertical line to the horizontal, not to go from horizontal to horizontal without the transition here. This is first line. This is chun, right? This is chun. This is rise and turn. So going back to the IOI form, when you cross and you chun, then you got to rise. Now the elbow position comes out. When it comes out, then your wrist, and then it spreads. If we're to open, IOI form we don't open, but there's a piece of that motion that your body has to tie into. What? This is the lift of the hand. It's called Tai, right? So the body, it comes from your back and your spine. So Tai here is the lift, right? This is your thrusting. This elbow is the same as the elbow like this, but this is a horizontal elbow. This is a downward elbow. A horizontal elbow is right to left, and your body has to go this way. When we're like this, it goes this way. So when I say understanding force, that's what we have to. That's what we're trying to understand. Direction of movement, what's involved with recruiting the correct musculature to do that. So it's different from, isolated motion. Years ago, back, in the 70s and maybe the 80s, they used to develop a lot of these workout machines that would isolate muscle, and you just work a group of muscles. They still have a lot of that. I forgot the name of those machines, but Ed Woodruff, he was buying all those machines, and I said, those are useless. What do you want to do that for? It's not good for kungfu. It's not good for Tai Chi either, because you're isolating your muscles, and going based on the exercise physiology, it's very specific to your training. So if you do that all the time, that's what's going to happen, that you get good at that. It's called specificity to training. You can't do the same movement without your body not making it into a habit, because that's what it's learning. So why, if you did, say, curls all day long and you build it up to 150, on each side, when your arm detects a force, the first thing it does is it contracts. It becomes a reactive force. So that's why a lot of times people that do a lot of bodybuilding, as soon as you touch them, the body tenses, because it feels like there's, resistance. In doing forms, you're already resisting your movement if that's going to happen. So that's why a lot of people look stiff when they're training like that. If you're trained in a very rigid system, the same thing happens. And if you did Taekwondo, the same thing would happen. And I'm not telling you just because I want to tell you that, because I studied karate. Wei Chi Ru was a very stiff system. And you go into a position, you go like this, and you're tense. So what do you do when you get into a movement and you're playing sports? You get tense. I used to play basketball with the guys, and they never wanted me because I'd be striking on the defensive movements. So it becomes. I overcame that because my teacher told me. He said, that's useless. As a young guy doing that stuff, you could either say he's wrong, or you say, okay, I better listen. He must be telling me something. So you learn to soften over time. So, but we're always like that, when we're first learning. We're too physical. Anyways, all right. That's the story, right, Bao? I gave. No, you hit a lot of faces, block, reach, a lot of bloody noses. You know how it is. The guy goes, wow, and I used to be like a rock. I was like a rock.
So nobody can touch you.
Oh, I think. All right, I'll see you, Tom. Hey, getting everything ready. Must be a. Oh. Quick.